Hey everyone, it's Dave here at Blue Bears Games again. Today's video we're going to be doing a Blues Budget Brews. Today we are going to be doing Thalisse Reverent Medium. It's part of my Budget Brews section for Commander. We are going to end up selling this deck off to somebody. Hopefully somebody likes this deck enough to go ahead and purchase it. This is usually done at cons, but for now I'll be doing it on the Facebook page. Alright, first things first, let me get it out of the way. Please do me a favor, if you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If for some reason you don't like it, please let me know what it is that you don't like so I can improve. I want to go ahead and make all these videos to your liking. I like to get a broader audience, so let me know. Put it in the comments below, go to the Facebook page, send me a message, bluebearsgames@gmail.com, whatever. Just let me know what it is. Subscribe to the video, or subscribe to the channel actually, and you'll see a lot more videos. I've got a whole bunch more here. I've got 4 more decks it looks like just now, and that's not even the fact that I'm building more. So, anyway, on to today's topic. Thalisse, Reverent Medium. Orzhov, which is black-white. 5 to cast, so it's black, white, and 3. It's a 3/4 human cleric. The ability is, at the beginning of each end step, create X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of tokens you've created this turn. And that doesn't happen, it's each end step, so you don't have to worry about it happening on anybody else's turn as well. It'll go off there. So, you can see where we're going with this. We're going to be doing token deck. We're going to be trying to go wide or do aristocrats. This deck's going to have a little bit of both, and then if you purchase it and you want to upgrade it, you can go in one direction or the other, or you can focus on both as well. So, let's go into it. We're going to start off with the land like I always do. We're going to zoom out so that you can see what's in my hand. Alright, anyway. So we start off with the Temple of Silence because it's the black-white dual land. It's the one that comes into play tapped and you scry. And because we're in opposing colors of black-white, there's not a lot of the helpful dual land style cards for the color combinations. So Scoured Barrens is one of the ones that comes in and gives you a life. Orzhov Guildgate for Sinking Sanctuary. Desert of the True for cycling because black-white has a problem with drawing cards. So if you're later in the game, you need to draw a card instead of a land, you can go ahead and cycle this away. So I went with the white and the black one, the Desert of the Glorified. Memorial to Glory. For this one, it's because it can create tokens. Remember, every time you create a token, you get another one. So you want as many of those as you can. Dunes of the Dead creates 2/2 black zombies. So it's creating more tokens. Foundry of the Consoles. It creates 2 1/1 color stop to creature tokens with flying. And Spawning Bed creates 3, I believe. Yeah, it's 3 1/1 Eldrazi Scions that you can actually sack them to add a colorless. So they have a little bit of ramp in that. And then Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, so you can go get your mana fixing. And Myriad Landscape, so you can get 2 lands. And then a bunch of swamps and some plains. And again, as always, I will have a deck list, a clickable deck list to my NTG Goldfish account for this deck specifically in the description. So if you want to see exactly how many lands there are, you can go ahead and take a look there. As far as upgrades for this deck, I will go into the lands first. We're in black-white, so we're looking at Scrub Land, Godless Shrine, and Marsh Flats, the trio of the most expensive of the lands for the color combo. If you're looking for a little bit cheaper, you go with Isolated Chapel, Fetid Heath, and Tainted Field because we're in black, so the tainted lands come into play. And if you're looking for, you know, that middle ground, not expensive but not cheap, you can go with Emeria, Sky Ruin because it can bring creatures back. We'll go over them in a minute. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth because it'll go great with the Cabal Coffers, so you can have extra mana. So those are a few of the upgrades. As far as the ramp goes in this deck, what do we have here? Because remember, we're on a budget, so nothing here can be too expensive. I'm trying to keep it under that $40 mark. Renegade Map, Traveler's Amulet, Orzhov Keyrune, and it actually turns into a 1/4 black and white Thrall with lifelink, so it can help you gain some life too. Orzhov Locket, because if you don't need the ramp, but you want to draw a card, you can draw 2 off of this one. And Orzhov Cluestone, it itself also sacrifices to draw a card, but it also provides ramp. Not too much there. Black and white don't have a whole lot of things with ramping, so we'll go into the other things you can do. You can do a Soul Ring, an Arcane Signet, or a Thought Vessel. I myself personally don't like to use Arcane Signet in 2-color decks, but that's just me. That's my own personal preference. You can do whatever you want. You have Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Mox Diamond if you want to go real expensive. And then you have, on the cheaper side, you have Felwar Stone, Everflowing Chalice, and Arzov Signets. They're on the cheaper side. They're about a couple bucks a piece, and you can go ahead and it'll actually add a little bit of ramping to it. And then if, white gives us opportunities. It's not really ramp so much as mana fixing, but it helps thin your deck out of bad draws later. You can go with Land Tax, Tithe, and Gift of Estates for the real cheap. So those are a few options you can do with your ramp section. The creature section we're going to go over now. Each one of these creatures will have a purpose specifically tuned for this deck. So Mirrored Construct, because when it dies, it'll create colorless servo tokens. Or I'm sorry, construct tokens, not even servos. Anointer Priest, because with all those tokens coming into play, it helps you gain life. And it embalms, so it turns itself into a token. Doomed Artisan, because at the end of each end step, at the beginning of your end step, you can create a token every turn. So it just keeps pumping them out. Blaring Recruiter, because it's got a colon here, so you can continually just create with as much mana as you have available, more tokens. Cloud Goat Ranger, it enters with 3 1/1 tokens. And then, of course, you can tap them to... You can tap 3 of the Kithkin that are tokens, and it'll give it +2/+0 and flying, but that's not the point of this. The Icatian Crier, I don't know if it's Icatian, Icatian, whatever it is, it's the Crier. You can discard a card and put 2 tokens into play. So if you have a bad land draw, but you have the Crier out, you can go ahead and create 2 tokens, and then at the end of the turn, your commander, Thalisse, will actually create 2 more. Scholar of Atheros, this was a throw-in because of the color combo. It's a black-white card that helps with the aristocrat style that you can go with. So for each 2 colorless and a black you pump into it, each opponent loses life and you gain life equal to life lost, so it helps keep you alive. Phantom General, because there's a lot of tokens, so why not give him a buff? Harmonious Archon. Here's a good one. So it's in here so that all your little 1/1s are actually base power, toughness 3/3, and when it enters, it actually creates 2 tokens. So it creates 2 1/1s, but their base power and toughness, if it's a non-Archon, which they're not, are 3/3. Lazotep Reaver. When it enters, you amass, so it creates a token for you. Zolaport Cutthroat for the aristocrat style, so whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses life and you gain a life, so that's where a little bit of the aristocrat style comes in. Liliana's Devotee, because every time one of your creatures dies, including your tokens, you can pay a black and 1 and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, so even more tokens. Nadirs, or Nadlers, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, Nightblade. So it has aristocrats built into it with a token. So whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Spark Reaper for the sack outlet that you'd need if you want to do aristocrats, but it also helps you draw cards. Again, black-white has an issue with drawing cards. Marsh Flitter, when it enters, it creates 2 1/1 tokens, so that's why that's in there. Nightmare Shepherd, so whenever a non-token creature dies, you may exile it, and then if you do create a token, there's that word again, it's a 1/1 that is exactly the same card, it's just a 1/1 token. Nested Ghoul, whenever a source deals damage to it, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And then Cruel Celebrant, again, for aristocrats. So whenever it or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So that's what I put in here for the creature. Every single one of these creatures actually does something for you to create a token for Thalisse. Some upgrades for token makers as far as creatures go. You have Burmaz, I believe it's from Born of the Gods. You have Bygone Bishop and Crested Sunmare. All great options to do an upgrade. They're a little more on the expensive side. You've also got God Eternal Oketra. So every time you cast a creature, you create a 4/4. Ghoul Caller Gisa, so you can sacrifice. I believe it's sacrifice a creature, but it might be sacrifice a zombie. It's gonna be up here on the screen. You can create X tokens equal to, I think it's the sacrifice creature's power, and then Chittering Witch. And here's the thing: there's a lot of different kinds of a lot of different creatures that you can use to they enter the battlefield, create tokens kind of thing. So just go to the MTG Familiar app that I always tell you to go to if you have Android. If you don't, there are other options that you guys have on iPhones, but a lot of things have the Android system anyway. And you can go ahead and put in the parameters of enters battlefield or enters play, create, and then it'll bring up a whole bunch of creatures. And you can do whatever you like as far as your comfort level, where you want to be. What you have is a big thing. You don't have to go out and buy anything if you already have stuff that does that. So, just remember, use the MTG Familiar app for anything that you're unsure of, and I use it for everything. Alright, so next section we're going to go into is the spells. These are mostly going to be token creators. So we're going to go with Recruit the Worthy because it has buyback. Raise the Alarm because it's cheap. It's 2 to cast, and it's an instant and puts two tokens into play. Midnight Haunting also puts 2 tokens into play, but they're flying. Master's Call. Start to finish. Start gives you the ability to create the tokens, and then finish, it helps you destroy a creature. So you can use one of the tokens to destroy a creature. You can only cast that from your grave. The finish part. Eyes in the Skies. Join the ranks. Gather the townsfolk, and if for some reason you're at 5 or less life, it creates a whole lot of tokens for you. Sworn Companions. Most of these are going to create 2 tokens, by the way. Hive Stirrings. Lingering Souls. It has flashback, so you can cast it twice. Queen's Commission. Spectral Reserves. Sends Enlistment because it has Retrace. So if you have a land in your hand and you already have enough in play, you can actually just cast this instead. Captain's Call creates 3 tokens. Call the Cavalry. Battle Screech because it has flashback. Lab Rats because it has buyback. Gisa's Bidding has Madness. You're not really going to play a whole lot with the Madness theme here. There's not a whole lot that's going to happen with that unless your opponent's playing something like Wheels, where the Madness comes into play. Moan of the Unhallowed, again with flashback, so you can cast it twice. Stir the Sands, and for some reason, if you need to cycle it away to draw another card, you can. At least if you cycle it away, you're going to create a token out of it. And Call to the Feast creates 3 tokens. So everything as far as what I just showed you is a token creator. It helps fit the theme of Thalisse, and it helps you get a board state. It basically turns your board state into a mass amount of 1/1s. As far as those go, with token making spells, there are a lot of them. So go to the MTG Familiar app and put in Create and put in card type, either instant or sorcery, and it'll give you a whole bunch. I've put a lot of the ones that exist in here. There are others. Just look them up. Whatever you're comfortable with, you can go ahead and put in. All right, next section we're going to do is utility with enchantments and such. There are other things you can do, but this is what I could come up with under the budget. Intangible Virtue gives all your tokens a buff and vigilance. Retreat to Emeria because it does both. Again, when you play a land, you can create a token or you can give your creatures a buff. Foreboding Fruit because Black-White has a problem drawing cards, so I wanted to put as much card draw that was cheap in here as possible. So that also includes Read the Bones, Painful Lessons, and Succumb to Temptation. Dreadhorde Invasion, it constantly pumps out a token, so if you have a sack outlet, you can create a token, sack it for whatever purpose you want. Next turn to create another one, or you can make that token get bigger, and then when it gets big enough, it actually gains lifelink, and you can gain life off of it. And Ethereal Absolution, so it pumps your creatures, or buffs your creatures, it debuffs your opponent's creatures, and you can actually have some graveyard hate in here, and create tokens at the same time. This card actually, for this deck, fits perfectly. It does everything you want it to do. If you wanted to spend a little bit of money, there's a couple of enchantments that I personally would put in if I was to, try to make it above budget. So you have Anointed Procession because it doubles token creation. Dawn of Hope because it helps you draw cards, helps you make creatures, it helps you make tokens specifically, and Mobilization because it creates tokens. With a colon there, it means you can do it as much as you have mana. You have Dictate of Erebos, Grave Pact, and Black Market. They all care when creatures die. So with 2 of them, when your creatures die, your opponents have to sacrifice creatures. And with 1 of them, you gain the ability. You put counters on it, And you can, on your first main phase of every turn, what happens is you get mana based upon the amount of counters that are on it. If you really want to spend some money here, if you want to help the card draw part of this deck, you can put Necropotence in, Greed, or Phyrexian Arena. All of those cards are a couple bucks. Like Greed is, I think, like $3 or $4. The Arena is like 7 or 8, and the Necropotence apparently is $20. So it's, you know, drawing cards in Magic, it's a little expensive on your pocket. So next section we're going to go over will be defense. We have some cards for defense. We're in white and black, so there's a lot of good ways to destroy things. So we're going to go with good old Disenchant for that artifact or enchantment that is bugging you. Same thing with Revoke Existence, only this one removes it from the game. Bone Splinters, because you should have enough tokens to not care that you're sacrificing a creature, and you can destroy any creature. Spark Harvest, same thing as Bone Splinters, however, it can hit a Planeswalker. Corpse Hatch, because it does what you want. It destroys a creature and creates tokens. Contract Killing, and this is an important one. Destroy a creature, create 2 colorless treasure artifact tokens that have tap them and sacrifice them and add a mana of any color. So Thalisse doesn't care what kind of tokens you create. They can be treasure tokens as well. Keep that in mind. So if you want to, I have a section later, not too far later, but coming up that'll tell you what else you can do. But any token you create, it could be treasure tokens. It could be gold tokens. I think Tezzeret creates gold tokens. Any token will trigger Thalisse for her ability to create you a 1/1 flyer. And Bake into a Pie. Destroy a creature, create a food token. There's another token type. It's not just a creature token. It can be a food token as well. So those are a couple of the things that you can do there. As far as defense goes, with black and white, some upgrades you could do. You got Wrath of God and Damnation. They can wipe a board in case you're in trouble. You have Garrick's Wake, which will wipe everybody's board but your own of creatures. And there's a whole lot of different things out there. Go to the MTG Familiar app, or whatever you have, and take a look at things. You know, destroy this, destroy that, exile this, exile that. And whatever you want to do, you can do. You can, you know, switch in and out of things. You know, take out a Disenchant, put in, you know, a Wrath of God. Whatever. You know, you can do whatever you want. Next section and last section. These are the win cons. This is how you're going to win with this. Obviously, you're going to go wide. You're going to create a lot of tokens, and then you're going to rush in with all those little 1/1s. While you're doing it, you might as well do damage for free. Campaign of Vengeance. Whenever a creature you control attacks, defending player loses life and you gain a life. So they don't even have to hit them. They just have to attack and your opponent's losing life and you're gaining it. Relic File goes into the aristocrat style. So it taps, you pay 2 and tap it, and you can sacrifice a creature, which you want to be able to do, to draw a card. So there's that fixing of drawing a card. And then as long as you control a cleric, Relic File has, whenever a creature you control dies, doesn't matter if it's a token or not, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So there's that aristocrats again. So both of these go hand in hand. You can attack, and you can do the aristocrat style, or you can sacrifice creatures and do the aristocrat style. Make sure you have a cleric in play. One of the ways you can do that would be to run Soul Sisters if you want, because you're putting so many tokens into play. I did not suggest that because I have another deck that does that already. So you can look at that one as well. But make sure you have a cleric in play. Bastion of Remembrance to go with the aristocrat style again. So when it comes into play, it creates a token, which you want. And then whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Again, more aristocrats. And this is actually a foreign card. It's Debt to the Deathless. So it reads as 2 black, 2 white, and X. Each opponent loses twice X life. So if you pay 2 into X, it's 4. And you gain life equal to amount of life lost. So those are your kill cards. As far as upgrades for that, this is where it gets interesting. If you want to focus more on the aristocrat style, you can go with a Yara. She has this thing where when black creatures come into play, opponents lose life, blah, blah, blah. Blood Artist and Falkenrath Noble, both very good aristocrat style cards. You need sack outlets for that, though. If you want to upgrade the sack outlets for that, you can go with Ashnod's Altar, Phyrexian Altar, or one of my favorites, especially in a deck like this, Spawning Pit, because you're sacrificing creatures to put counters on something that literally just creates more creatures. So that's where I would go. I actually don't even own a spawning pit right now. I'm trying to get my hands on them for other decks. So that's an upgrade option you can take. Then you have one of the greatest, my favorite anyway, not greatest, but one of my favorite things to do is if you're in black and white, you can do Smothering Tithe, which by the way is like $30 now, and Revel in the Riches, which says when you have 10 treasure tokens in play, you win the game. Those go hand in hand. The reason they go hand in hand is because Revel in the Riches also creates treasure tokens. I believe whenever a creature dies. Off the top of my head, I think it's whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you create a treasure token. So remember, their things die, you get a token, and then you get another token because Thalisse is out. And Smothering Tithe just says whenever a player draws a card, they either pay 2 or you create a treasure token. So they go hand in hand. So those are my upgrade suggestions for this deck. It's not horrible. I kind of like Thalisse a little bit. As far as token decks go, this is one of the better ones in my opinion. I'm not opposed to this one being my own commander if I so choose. I would build this if I needed to, but for black-white I have another idea for my own personal deck. So anyway, that's my video for the week. I've already asked you like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. Please, I would like some feedback. Whatever you do like, let me know. Whatever you don't like especially, send me a message and let me know what it is that you want to see that I do. I have a couple of new videos coming up in the very near future. I'm going to start doing the budget brews that are not commander. So the 60 card deck, they're going to be kitchen table. I believe somebody called them battle decks. So like they're meant to play each other. And I'm going to do that in conjunction with another video every week. So I'm going to start doing 2. So get ready for all that. It's coming. But until, oh, one more thing. I don't know if by the time this video gets put out, if I haven't done the giveaway yet. I have 3 arena codes that I'd like to give away to anybody. For anybody who would like to get in on that, just go ahead and put a comment in the section below on this video and just say I'd like to get a code, and I've got 3 of them. Nobody has claimed one yet, so go ahead and do that. But that is my time for the week. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, you know how to reach me. Until next week, enjoy, have a good one. I will see you then.